Here's an extremely abbreviated overview of the history of Saginaw Township. As with most territories in the United States, where we live right now today was inhabited by Indians. And they were thriving. They had everything they needed for hunting, fishing, gathering, agriculture, travel. And then in 1813, our president, James Madison, appointed Lewis Cass to be the governor of Michigan. And his responsibility and his mission was to push the national agenda of territorial expansion and the assimilation of native lands. So in 1819, Lewis Cass signed the treaty with the leaders of the Indian tribes of the area, and he basically took their land away. He said, you can have this little bit over here, we'll give you a little bit of money, but we're taking this land. And that lasted a while until pushed them all the way up to Mount Pleasant, right? We don't even want you here anymore, get out. I'm just being real, that's what happened. We came and we kicked the Indians out, okay? So that's how we started our city. After the treaty was signed, our region went through various industrial booms. We started with furs, and then we became the lumber capital of the world. And then as that started to wane, we turned to coal. And then after that, the auto industry started to boom. We started becoming a Saginaw. We ended up becoming an auto hub, which really began in earnest around 1930s, and it went all the way up to the 1980s, 1990s when the plants were closing. But at that time, around the 1930s, this township wasn't very populated still. Everybody was in the city. But what happened is that Black people wanted to escape the racist Jim Crow laws of the South. And as we had a lot of manufacturing jobs pop up, Black people started to migrate north for a better life and hopefully a better reception, and that brought a lot of Black families to Saginaw. So our county was growing, our population was growing, and that was another reason why we had to start to populate the township. But one of the main reasons why, honestly, is because as our city became more racially diverse, the white people said, oh my God, our houses are going to go down in value. We need to get out. We need to sell right now. So they started to sell their homes, move to the township, and the Black people started to move in. And my dad told me a story about what he's 80 now, but he had a paper route from the time he was 11 until he was 16. And he said when he started at 11, his whole route of 100 people was white. And when he was 16, his whole route was Black. So that's how quickly things turned around and changed in the city. And the other thing that happened is that landlords started to buy up the properties, right? And Black people couldn't get mortgages, they couldn't get loans. And so they were forced into these rentals where the landlords wouldn't really fix anything up. So if you wonder why is the city so run down, it's because we disinvested from it. And another little interesting tidbit how we formed our township was, number one, we didn't want to be annexed by the city, which a charter township protects us from annexation. So if you're using city services, then they had a right to say, hey, you need to become part of the city. But because we're a charter township, that protected us from that. And then the city was strapped for cash, see? So they sold us their water treatment, so we didn't have to build our own highly expensive infrastructure for treating our water systems. And that was another nail in the coffin for the city. So as we started to move into this automotive era where white people are moving out to the township, more Black people are moving into the city, that's where we stayed for a long time. That's our township developed it to be a commercial hub. We have State Street, we have Bay Road, we became the shopping center with the big box stores and everything. People came out here to live, and the city was where all the manufacturing was going on. And as the manufacturing industry started to wane and the auto plant started to shut down, that left us on a little bit of a lurch. Like, what do we do now? What do we become now? But luckily, we have a lot of great organizations in our area like Saginaw Future, who's working hard to bring new businesses into our area. And so even though Saginaw Township hasn't gotten any of these advanced manufacturing jobs, Richland Township, one township over, has Hemlock Semiconductor. They're making investments. Corning's coming to Richland Township as well. The solar panels making investments. And then the city itself has investments coming in through the new medical diamond that's going to be developed soon in the area, which is going to help bring in more healthcare and medical facilities into the township. And so we need to really think about, what does this mean for our township? How can we ensure that we are attracting people to live, work, and play in our township so we can maintain our town? Because really, if you don't have people, you don't really have a town. So we want to strive and work with our neighbors moving forward to ensure our entire region is successful.